teacher unions, for one, have warned of chaos at schools this morning as millions of children return to the class. All grades, apart from grades 5 and 8, will be back in class, while learners with severe intellectual disabilities will have to go back on the 31st of August. The main concern is whether or not all learners will be accommodated and able to practice social distancing. Also, with the number of staff on comorbidity leave, a shortage of teachers is expected to impact on classes and possibly compromise the safety of unattended pupils. This, coupled with the anxiety of trying to catch up on 5 months of work amid fears of contracting the COVID-19 virus, the first day of school is, for lack of a better term, going to be challenging. Let's bring in Basil Manuel, who's Executive Director of the National Professional Teachers Organization of South Africa, joins us now via video link for more on this issue. Mr. Manuel, always great getting your insights. Once again, thanks very much for making time. Let me first start by getting a sense of what you know to be the official arrangement from government. We know that the plan is to have everybody technically back in class, but this is not going to happen at the same time. Is this left to the prerogative of the individual schools as far as you know?
Good morning, Ayanda. Pleasure to be with you. First of all, some provinces have been proactive, KZN being one, that have issued a circular to say learners today, they will have 2 grades back, 3 grades tomorrow, another 2 grades the following day, etc., until they reach Friday, and the entire cohort is back. Some provinces haven't done that. That means that today could potentially be quite a crush, with thousands of learners trying to get into the school gate. You can imagine the panic of parents, of teachers, who have to assist with scanning all these learners, filling in health questionnaires, that it'll take probably the entire morning before you can get learners in. Many schools don't have a communication system simply because they don't have the means to send out WhatsApps, etc., and tell children which 50% should be at school today. Because remember, our timetabling model will have us bring 50% back at a time so that we can do the social distancing. So today is going to be, putting it mildly, a major challenge for many schools.
Absolutely. And you speak about social distancing, and that's because the infrastructure hasn't changed. I mean, how much space you're able to have from your classmates is going to be a real challenge, to use your term. Do you get a sense that the Basic Education Department has sort of let go of specifically this non-pharmaceutical measure, admitted its losses and, will, I guess, deal with whatever consequences are to come? Because if there's still so much uncertainty about who ought is to be back today, it really does beg the question about how serious the department is in adhering to all of the COVID-19 non-pharmaceutical interventions.
You see, Ayanda, when you say as the department that we are ready, we are returning, and then you are not ready, it's a betrayal of the trust of parents, of teachers and the community at large. So I sincerely hope that there are more attempts than what we've seen. But of course, you're right. There are schools that are vastly overcrowded. Even with a 50% return of learners, those schools still don't have enough space. And nothing has really been done in terms of supplying infrastructure such as mobile classrooms, etc., as was promised at the beginning. So yes, you're correct to say they've probably given up on some of those. And that is going to be a major challenge for both the teachers and learners. We must remember that it's not only the physical impact, it's also the psychological impact. And we are worried about the learner who's less resilient in terms of their mental health and their panic because of what they've experienced at home and in the community. And this we will see, and it is not the person on the outside that sees it. The first port of call is the teacher. And we pay lip service to the fact that there are measures in place. We as teachers have yet to see those measures. So there are many things that worry us. We live in eternal hope, but hope is not good enough when people want you as the teacher to give them the reassurance that everything is right.
You speak about, the anxiety and the psychological toll this could take on pupils. How confident are you that even if we are able to get to the end of this academic program, that we would have managed to retain the integrity of completing the academic year? Because it's one thing to get there fighting fire and brimstone. It's another to get there confidently and say we've been able to dispose to these learners the requisite skills to proceed to the next phase of their academic careers. Are you confident that we're still able to do that under these circumstances?
I'm confident we can do what NAPTOSA suggests we should do, and that is to save learning. We've never subscribed to the view that we must save the academic year, because you can't make up lost time. And by saving learning, we are saying we need to do a credible amount of learning that will allow us to assess learners for progression. And the department is failing us once again because we don't have progression criteria yet. And I want you to consider all the stumbling blocks in our way. Number one, we need to work on the 2021 curriculum, because there are critical issues from this year that we need to transfer to next year that we will never be able to cover in this year, given the loss of time. Secondly, of course, we've got to look at the fact that the academic year is not going to end on the 15th of December. That is a fool's paradise. That is incorrect, and it's misleading. There are schools with 300 matriculants, and when they start the matric exams on the 5th of November, there can't be other children at school. There just won't be space, given the distancing demands of a matric exam. So there are many, many issues that we've glossed over and created the impression in the public eye that things are going to be okay. Even so, with 50% of the learners returning at a time, you will see that there's only 50% of what is left of the year available for potential teaching. So when you consider all those things, talking about saving the academic year does not make sense. We must save learning. We must save the critical learning issues, such as reading in the junior primary, such as ensuring that every child can read with meaning in the broader primary school. Then we would have done better than, in fact, trying to touch on 7 subjects and hardly doing justice to one.
Practically speaking, what does saving learning speak like 4 months or so after many pupils actually never set foot in a classroom? Help us understand what this would mean, practically speaking, at least from NAPTOSA's point of view.
Ayanda, the question that I ask immediately is, what do you know about what the major crisis has been in education in the last 10 years? And the simple answer, it's reading, it's language, and it's mathematics. And if you concentrate on those 3 things and say, let's consolidate that in 2021, let COVID work with us to consolidate that, we would have achieved more than we've done in the past 10 years. And I'm sure that would be better than having touched on 7 or 8 subjects or learning areas and actually achieved very little. Children will pick up the history, they'll pick up the geography, they'll pick up all those other things. But I'm telling you, if they don't know how to read with meaning, then the entire schooling career of a child is damned. And that is what we are trying to prevent.
Interesting. You mentioned the notion of some issues being glossed over. One of those, some may contend, is the issue of teachers on what we now understand to be comorbidities leave. About 27,000 or so of those teachers have applied for this leave. And of course, the immediate concerns is, whether or not there'll be enough capacity to split the pupils accordingly, and also whether or not there'll be enough adults in the room to take care of those pupils. What do you know to be the plan to make up for this deficit?
This is where the wheels start coming off. One of our greatest concerns, and the concerns of most teachers, is that they may not have enough hands at school to make a timetable work properly. We've engaged the department. The department has been very coy, and we will only see them again tomorrow after quite a few weeks. And they have not shown us a plan. Now, I know that this is enormously expensive, and hence the delay up to now, because we could move teachers around, not always successfully, but we could do that. But now when the vast majority are back, you don't have that luxury, and you actually need the bodies there. And if we don't have a replacement schedule, then we are going to run into trouble. But when the department says we are ready, that is also suggesting that those schools most in need have already been supplied with teachers, which I can tell you is not so. 2 of our 9 provinces have tabled plans, not plans that we necessarily embrace warmly, but at least plans are tabled to replace those teachers. 7 of the 9 provinces haven't shown us that there is a plan in place, and that is worrying. That is going to ensure that at least 13% of our schools, according to our last survey, which ended last week, will not be able to make a timetable ready for today. And that should worry every parent and every teacher.
Certainly is a cause for concern at the very least. Basil Manuel, thanks very much for your time. Always appreciate your weighing in on these issues. Mr. Manuel is the National Professional Teachers Organization of South Africa's Executive Director. Thanks very much indeed.